Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Timeout with Tackle What's Next, where we talk to athletes and executives about how sport has changed their lives and the lessons they've learned in life outside of the game. I'm Danielle Berman. I am the founder and CEO of Tackle What's Next, where we help athletes find purpose and create impact in life outside of the game. And I really appreciate all of you coming in and taking a time out with us here tonight at Tackle What's Next. Tonight we are talking to Amanda McGrew. Amanda is a former D1 basketball player for the University of Rhode Island. She earned her Bachelor's of Business Administration degree in finance. After that, she went on to compete for the women's basketball team at the University of Massachusetts at Lowell. She earned a Bachelor's of Business Administration and Marketing, and later became a physical education teacher, a basketball coach, and now is the founder of the Playoff dating app, a dating app for current and former college and pro athletes. It's a way to connect like-minded people who have major shared life experience, as we know all athletes do. So I see Amanda's in here. We're going to get her on screen, and I can't wait to talk to her. So here we go. Hello.
Hello. Hi, Danielle. How are you?
Good. How's it going?
It's going really well.
Well,
How are
thank you
you?
so much for being here. Really excited to hear more about your journey. And I'm seeing Playoff Dating App make some appearances in Tokyo, so that's
Yes.
really exciting.
Thank you. We are slowly but surely getting there. I love it.
Yes, I absolutely love some of the things you guys have been posting. It seems like things are spreading around there. And I want to hear, like, you created Playoff Dating App in 2017, if I have that correct, right?
Yep.
How has it changed? Obviously, we had a lot of virtual time and things happening over COVID. Like, did things pick up? Like, tell us a little bit about where Playoff is now,
Yeah. I mean, I will
post-pandemic kind
say,
of.
hopefully we're post-pandemic. I will hope we can call it that.
Right.
But yeah, during the pandemic, it actually, as horrible as life was for relatively everybody and most people, Playoff actually did pretty well. It was a time where people felt safer communicating online and digitally, and not necessarily being willing to meet new people. So it actually worked out really well. And we were able to, also, I was really worried that because people weren't necessarily on their college campus, it would kind of hinder Playoff a little bit. But I think it actually worked in our favor with everybody I guess not everybody, but a lot of student athletes being back in their hometowns and being able to communicate with people like beyond just their, immediate on-campus circle and their network. So it worked out really well. It's been kind of thriving ever since. I feel like, every time I see different athletes from different campuses sign up, it's so exciting to see athletes from all over the world jump on, because at the very beginning, I was always like, oh my God, I'm so worried that this athlete is coming on from maybe this other country or maybe this school where I know not a lot of athletes are on it. And I was so worried. And now I'm getting way less emails about like, hey, there's not a lot of people near me, so it's really cool, but like I wish I had more, like some more opportunities and some more options here. But now I'm getting more and more people saying like, hey, I've met up with like 5 or 10 other people and it's been really cool. And so whether they're using it for romance or just like networking or just like I said, like you said, meeting like-minded people, it's like you can use it for whatever you want and it's still going to serve this awesome purpose. So it's really exciting to see it continue to grow.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think to your point, like obviously the name is Playoff Dating App, but really it's about connecting people with that experience. And I want to know, like, how did you come up with this idea? What was it like putting it together? Like you created this out of nothing. So tell us about that experience.
Yeah, I mean, I always laugh because I have no background in tech. I have no experience in any of this.
Yeah.
I always feel the need to preface it by saying like, I had no business doing this. You know what I mean? Like this was created 100% out of need and necessity for me. I was like, oh, wouldn't it be cool to find a fellow athlete, as opposed to being on these bigger, more generic dating apps where I found myself. And I was kind of like, wow, I feel like I'm searching for a needle in a haystack, swiping through all these men, trying to figure out like, do any of these men like understand why I am the way I am, what I've done, why that's important to me, why that might be important to me as I want to have kids and raise a family, and how I would like to parent my kids, and all these different things that I think when I was like 18, 19, 20, I was not thinking about, obviously. And that was also a time when I was like surrounded by other athletes and didn't realize how special that was. I didn't realize that that's not the real world. I got into teaching PE, and I was like, oh my God, like there's nobody else like me.
Yeah.
And again, I always really want to kind of hammer home the fact that like, it's not about being better or worse. It's just about being different. I feel like the experience is just very unique. And I always thought it was special, and I really value it. I place a high level of value on it, but it's truly just about it being different from other experiences, in the same way that I'm sure, you know, actors and actresses or singers or entertainers or chefs or anybody who has got this very particular skill set and experience can kind of connect on that level with another person who's done the same thing.
Yeah. And there's plenty of dating apps that are either job specific or like life experience
Definitely.
specific. And I think a lot of people are looking for, again, that like, sure, you guys aren't going to be the same person, but you have a shared experience, and that's where you guys can find that common ground. So I think it's really
Right.
cool that you built this up. And I love that you said, like, I don't have any business doing this, but it came out of a need. So
Yeah.
I want to talk about some of the things your shared experience being the athlete experience. Tell us about your athlete experience, right? So tell us about that first time you stepped onto a court or a field. What sport was it? How did you choose basketball? How did that happen?
Yeah, man, God, that feels like a lifetime ago. But I am actually one of 4 kids. So me and my siblings, there's 2 girls and 2 boys, and we're all 2 years apart. So
Okay.
my parents were super busy, but they were also, you know, athletes themselves growing up. So we were kind of thrust into anything that was available at the time, you know. So whether I was the second in the birth order, so my sister was the first one that got into sports, and it was like we were all being dragged to every game and practice and field and court and whatever. And it was kind of like, well, entertain yourselves, like figure it out while Christy's at practice or whatever. And then eventually it just became all 4 of us kind of playing. And this, I guess, is probably more of a thing back when I was younger, and it's becoming less and less of a thing now, sadly, that you just played whatever was in season. You know, you played whatever was available at that moment. You know, there wasn't year-round basketball 20 years ago. You know, that's not, or, you know, that's not how it worked. And obviously, as I got older, club teams started, you know, really kind of getting on the rise, and that became a big deal. But my sister actually went to play softball collegiately at Michigan State. And both my brothers actually played baseball through high school, and I played softball through high school. But I was the only one who kind of veered to the left and went towards basketball.
Okay.
I think I don't know. I think I just liked that it was a little more fast paced. I loved softball, and it was super fun, but I think I wanted that kind of movement. I also think I enjoyed the physicality with the other team. I enjoyed that it was like a physical sport, and that, you know, you were able to kind of get some aggression out a little bit. And yes, I think that's pretty much why I ended up choosing it. But I'm originally from Santa Monica, California. I'm out here in LA now, back home. But I actually chose to go, like you said, to the University of Rhode Island for school. And I really was just wanting to get out of California. I was like, get me out of here. I'm excited to go see something different. And then the California kid inside of me came out, and I was like, well, let's go somewhere where there's a beach. And then that was a total amateur move. I was like, oh, you can't like be at the beach year round here. This is a different kind of thing. This is a different kind of vibe.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love New England though. It was an amazing place. And I feel like my years in New England were so incredibly special that I cherish them forever.
Yeah, no, I love that. And it's always fun to hear what everyone says like their first sports are, because it's always something different. Usually it's not like the first sport they did. It's true. A great point. Like I feel like now it's hard to find people that play so many sports because there is so many year-round things. So hopefully that starts to shift back a little bit.
Definitely.
But I want to talk about basketball for you and the impact it made on you. So you talked about some of the experience of playoff is finding people with that shared experience. Like, what kind of skills did basketball teach you? What impact did it make on who you are today?
I think one of the biggest things is the ability to kind of show your grit and be able to kind of get through things that are difficult. Mm-hmm. I think athletes in general have this amazing way of both being able to play through adversity. And, you know, we're seeing a lot of that where, especially in the Olympics with Simone Biles and everything that's going on, where you shouldn't have to feel the need to do that. But you're kind of taught to brush other things aside, whether it's how you're feeling physically, how you're feeling mentally, you know, things like that. But just the ability to wake up every day and go to work, wake up every day and do something repetitively, to see these super, super, super small improvements, and maybe no improvement at all, truthfully, on a day-to-day basis. But just kind of being able to sit back and look at it from the grand perspective and see like, oh, wow, no, I am improving. I am doing something really good. And I think, my basketball career definitely kind of taught me that, but I would say specifically my injuries, injuries and rehab have been so grueling and so, like, sadly, such an honest part of the game and such an honest part of sports, but there's really nothing quite like it. You can't replicate that. You can't show that in any other way. So that's been invaluable for me.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And it's definitely that perseverance factor. And like you said, like that could be a good thing and a bad thing in terms of like the public perception of perseverance, right? But I think it is like there's just so many skill sets that you learn as an athlete, just gives you those experiences that really propel you forward into whatever career path you want to choose, right? Because if you can succeed in sport, you really have a blueprint to succeed in so many other places, and including like those setbacks, like an injury or whatever that is, right? That's a huge setback that you have to then overcome as best as possible and figure out what you're going to do.
Definitely. And I think that's one of those things where it's like, that is what gave me the courage and the confidence to even jump into the tech space. Like I said, I laugh about it, but truthfully, the world is like set up to discourage you from doing things like that. Like society kind of shows you that you're not supposed to be jumping into things that you don't have experience with, or that you have no business being a part of, unless you put in the time, or you put in, you have the energy or the money or the, whatever it is to be able to kind of build your reputation there. And I think basketball in and of itself taught me like, no, you're able and willing and proven to be able to be in any space. You can be around any group of people and you can hold your own. And I think that's like a really special thing that sports brings, this level of confidence, especially to women, but definitely to everybody. I think it's incredible.
Yeah, that's a really good point too. And I think that confidence factor is huge. Like so many athletes like yourself go on to create or be a part of these amazing opportunities. And to your point, I think some of that has to do with the fact that you guys have achieved so many amazing things that like it's hard to kind of limit yourself after you've achieved so much. And I think you talked a little bit about entrepreneurship, starting Playbook. What have you done in your college career, kind of transitioning out and coaching? What set you up for success? What are some things that you think you did really well, or maybe that you wish you would have done to help with that like next chapter?
I was going to say, I probably have a longer list of things that I should have done and things that would have been super helpful. But I think one of the things that I always kind of go back to that I feel like has been a huge asset to me is that, I kind of joke about it in this very self-deprecating way, but I think I'm very well aware of the things that I don't know. I think I'm aware that I am going to need people who are smarter than me around me, and I'm going to need their expertise and their knowledge to be able to get to any point I want to get to in my level of success, or wherever I want to be in my life, and wherever I want Playoff to grow to, or even in the next venture that I decide that I want to do, or whatever it may be. You're always going to need somebody to help. And I think, one of the first things I learned while jumping on calls for Playoff, and, whether I'm trying to find a lawyer or an accountant or a developer or a marketing person or whatever it is, I'm very upfront about the fact that I am kind of starting from zero here, and I am so excited to learn from them. And even if this is just an informational call, and this is, even if you're not paying me and I'm not paying you, or we can't mutually benefit from each other, just the simple idea of having a 20-30 minute conversation with them is benefiting, hopefully both of us, but definitely me. I think it's one of those things that I was embarrassed to do when I first got out of college. It was something that I kind of, and the other side of that confidence piece is like, oh, I don't need to do that. You kind of build up this confidence and you're like, oh, no, it's fine. I got this. And at the end of the day, it's like, no, you don't got this. You actually don't have anything. Like you need to start from zero and humble yourself a little bit. And I think that was really powerful for me. And truthfully, I stuck in I'm still teaching PE. I've been in my PE teaching job I just finished my 10th year. And it wasn't until, and it wasn't until like 5 or 6 years into it that I even considered that I might be able and willing to do something different. I got the job through a friend who was an athletic director, and, it kind of fell into my lap a little bit, but I never really saw myself going very far from sports. But having said that, I didn't know what that meant. So it felt like I just kind of took what came to me. And it wasn't, like I said, until a few years into it that I was like, oh no, you're capable of a whole lot more. You got to kind of tap into that. And that the first step in that was reaching out to people and like getting that knowledge from people, and seeing how many people are actually willing to share, which is like an incredible number of people.
Yeah, I always think that's the best part is like you kind of get surprised because you're like, there's no way this person's going to reach back out to me or they're never
Yeah.
going to be like, sure, that's fine. And the number of people that actually are like, absolutely, I would love to jump on a call. It's amazing. So it's
It's
like if
so
you put it
incredible.
out there, right? It's never 100%, right? Like you can never bank on it every single
Right.
person, but so many more people than you expect are so willing to jump on a call, connect you with somebody, whatever it is. So I love
Yes.
that you've experienced that too, because I feel the same way. As like I'm nowhere without the people that were willing to be like, yeah, let me chat with you or let me connect you with this
Definitely.
person, you know?
And people want to help, they want
Yes,
and if not for their own selfish reasons of feeling like needed and wanted, just for what they're giving back, it's like
exactly.
the ability that their expertise is in demand right now is a huge compliment to them and what they've
Yes.
done. So it's a
Yeah.
win-win for sure.
Oh, 100%. I love that. And I think it's a great example because to your point, like with that confidence, there is that kind of like, oh, I don't want to be a burden on somebody. I got this. I can
Right.
figure it out. But I love that it's like, you know what you don't know. And you got to
Right.
also like be efficient with your time because sure, you could figure it out, right? Absolutely. It
Right.
might take you a lot of time though. Do you want to spend that time learning how to code and creating the app yourself?
Right.
Or do you want to bring in that developer that could do it a lot easier?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I also want to know, again, you kind of talked about what you've done and what have kind of learned over the years. We've talked a lot to athletes that say, I don't really have work experience. I've only played sports. What would you say to that? Tell us about those transferable skills and how they've kind of come up for you.
I mean, truthfully, I think I remember when I was first starting playoff and I kind of was talking to my sister about it and I was like telling her all these things that all the reasons why I knew I should be able to do this. I was like, oh, I mean, I've got great time management and I've got teamwork skills and I've been a leader. And she's like, okay, you're literally saying every resume buzzword, like thank you, but like that's not what you need to do. And I was like, yeah, but like it's never felt more real. Like that's never felt more real than like within my life as an athlete and like what athletics has taught me. And it's something that you, like I said before, it can't be replicated. It's something you can't make up. And there's nothing quite like being in a college athletic program to feel like you're really being thrown to the fire. Like you are like, it is trial by fire every day, all the time. You're constantly facing things that are new, whether it's like your team loses by 30 and you thought you were going to have a day off and now you're up at 6 a.m. for your, conditioning workout or whatever. The stories are endless and some are much more pleasant than others. But, I think that just kind of sets you up for success. And, one of the things that I know I was not good at was looking for experiences, outside of basketball to be able to help my eventual professional career. And I never, ever even considered during my time as a college athlete, even like stepping into an office, communicating with anybody outside of the athletic department. It was like, no, 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 no. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. And everybody was like, no, this is not smart. Like, and I will say, a lot of people say it's for lack of resources. At the University of Rhode Island, there was no lack of resources. They were definitely trying to help. This falls completely on me. But that's, truthfully why I started my internship program, where I kind of reach out to student athletes and to
Yeah.
athletic administrators across the country and just say like, listen, I didn't take advantage of what I should have been. And granted, we get all kinds of great experience as a college athlete, but there's certain things that I think I can provide to student athletes in terms of like real world work experience that I think they can benefit from. So that's been super exciting to kind of give back, because
Yeah.
that is like, for me, it's like 100% a cautionary tale of like, don't do what I did and just assume that it's all going to work out. It took me like, whatever it was, 7 years to realize I could have been an entrepreneur, and, a little bit too late, but here we are anyways.
Yeah, well, never too late, right? You're killing
Right.
it right now, and I
Thank
think to
you.
your point about like giving back to the next group of student athletes. We had an event earlier that some interns for us this summer put together about being a proactive student athlete, and you just kind of gave a great piece of advice. And the other thing I think a lot of athletes are feeling pressure around is like they want to find a purpose, right? They want to make impact. Like what advice would you give folks that are like, like I want to do something that matters? Like, how do they figure out what that is?
I mean, truthfully, for me, it took time. I think it's not, and this is only a personal story. I can't say for everybody, but I really had to sit back and not. It's like one of those things. It's like dating. When you focus on it like crazy, it might not come to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or whatever they say, it's going to happen when you least expect it.
Yeah.
But it took a lot of time as being that PE teacher and that basketball coach, where I knew I was giving back to the kids, and I knew that was incredible. And I knew, I was being appreciated for that and loved for that. And that's been amazing. But I just knew there was more. I just didn't know what more. I didn't know what it looked like. I didn't know, how much was I going to try to make? Well, I had no idea where to even begin. So it wasn't until I let some time go by that I kind of realized it was more so for me about creating what I wished existed in the world. It was like, how do I do this? And then honestly, benefiting everybody else, sadly was like a byproduct of that. It was like, oh, cool, other people can use this too. This works out really well. And so it wasn't like, I didn't go into it with this like noble idea of like, I'm going to connect all these other people. And now what's so funny is like, we're 3 years into it. I'm still single, by the way, but I feel so much gratification in knowing how many people I've connected. And I'm like, oh, forget about me. This is like so exciting that people are like matching and chatting and like meeting and in relationships. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding. Like, you met on Playoff? When someone says that to me, I still like lose my mind every single time. So that has been incredibly more satisfying to me than like meeting my own person, which God knows there's time for that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like there's plenty of time for that, and I'm not worried. But I think like I didn't really realize how much the giving would really affect me. And that wouldn't have come if not for the time, just kind of left to experience life and see what was missing in mine,
Yeah. I think that's great advice, because we do see this pressure of like, what are you going to do? Like, what's your purpose? Like, what's your dream job? And I think there's so much pressure on that it's like, let's just let people have the time to figure things out. Like you said, sit with yourself, be an adult, like experience life, try things, say you don't like it, move on. But I love the piece of advice that you just gave, is like, it doesn't have to be like a purpose-driven thing, right? Your job doesn't have to be like, I'm curing, world hunger or solving world hunger. It could be like, here's a problem I see. I want to help with that. Maybe you work for somebody, maybe you create something on your own, and there's a byproduct of that. Or it could be like, I'm really good at this and I want to lend my talents to a company that is doing some great work already. Like, there's so many ways to do it. And I think that's a really great example.
And I mean, one of my, this is funny. I haven't talked to a lot of people about this when I'm talking about Playoff, but a few years ago, I was creating like hand painted wood signs that you'd find at weddings like seating charts, any type of rustic event I would like paint on these signs. And I first thought, this is such a cool way for me to kind of get my creativity out there and like be able to use it as an outlet. And like the feedback that I was getting, and this was like a personal thing for me where I'm like, oh, this is so nice. I get to do it on my off time. I get to sand and stain and paint and like kind of get my hands dirty. And the feedback that I was getting from Etsy when I would sell these custom signs from women who were like, oh my gosh, you made the wedding so amazing. And like, it changed my day. And I was like, oh wow, see, you really are helping people. And you don't really know, right? You don't really see it that way all the time, but it's just something that is like, wow, that really fills up your glass in a way that you didn't really know was going to happen beforehand. So you just kind of got to let your skills and kind of ideas and uniqueness run wild a little bit and see what happens.
I love it. I think that's a great, great piece of advice for everybody listening in. And for some people, I saw someone commented they're interested in the app. Where can they find the app? How do they download it? And what's coming up next? Like, I know you guys are all over Tokyo. You're trying to get more people, on the app. So what's coming up for you guys?
Yeah, so you can find Playoff in the App Store if you have an iPhone, or in Google Play if you have an Android. So it's available wherever you get your apps. In terms of what's coming up, the Olympics have been awesome. We've got a few Olympians spreading the word for us there in the village, which is super exciting. It's unbelievable to see, Olympians from like the German track and field team and the Norway sailing team and like all these different athletes jumping on. And you're just thinking like, did they talk to each other, or did they just randomly happen upon, a flyer or our custom condoms that are out there or whatever? Yeah. I'm just so intrigued to know how they found out about it, but they're signing up, which is super exciting. In terms of what's next, the goal, like you said, hopefully we are post-pandemic. I guess we're not quite there yet, but the goal would be to do some pretty massive in-person athlete events. I would love to have just hundreds of athletes in the same space. And I've said from the beginning, I do not want to create a dating situation. I just want to be able to get athletes together, right? Yeah. I think it's like putting all those athletes in the same space is just a way to generate so much excitement and so much creativity and, so much power in one room that I think that would be really cool. So the goal, I think, in the next 12 months would be to get some of those events going in different cities around the US to start, which would be super exciting.
Oh, I love that. I think that community piece is so, so great. And it doesn't matter if there's like a planned agenda, but just like you said, getting people in the same space, having, that
Exactly.
sense of community is so important. So I love that. Definitely keep us posted. We'd love to push that and help get some people there once it's ready.
Definitely.
And then
That'll be
last
awesome.
question, like how can they follow and connect with you personally as well as Playoff?
Yeah, personally, I kind of laugh because my personal Instagram is like about to be like deactivated because I am like, I'm horrible at social media. I don't particularly enjoy it, but I kind of do what I got to do. And I feel like deactivating my personal account is going to be good on all fronts. So I am running the Playoff Instagram. That is at Playoff Dating App. So I am the person behind that. I will be the one responding to you. My interns are running the at Playoff Dating App TikTok. So that's much cooler than our Instagram, because they are much cooler than me. So they put all those posts up, which are super excited to try to grow that platform. And then if you want to email me specifically with a question or anything like that, I can be reached at amanda@playoffdatingapp.com. And I look forward to hearing from any of you.
Awesome. Well, Amanda, this was so fun. I really appreciate you coming
on
and sharing your story, sharing your, tips and advice for life after sports and telling us a little bit more about Playoff. So congrats on getting in Tokyo. I hope more athletes sign up for the app while they're there. And everybody here, make sure you go follow Playoff, check out what they're doing, download the app if you're looking to meet some people, if you're an athlete looking to meet people. And thanks again, Amanda, for being here. We're really excited to have you on.
Thank you so much. It's been so great to be here and chat with you and just kind of give a little glimpse into what's going on in my crazy life. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Amanda, and we'll see you guys next time.
Okay, sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.